Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr Chair, I want to pick up where David Parker left off in respect of the smaller end of town again, in terms of credit unions. Now, I note that the New Zealand Association of Credit Unions and their members made a number of submissions on the bill, and basically their thesis said that credit unions shouldn't be lumped in with finance companies under the same MBDT definition, given a cooperative business model is inherently, and I'm quoting from them, inherently different from other financial institutions. Now that does raise a valid point, because if you look at the model of credit unions and building societies, they have vastly different objectives based on the various acts, the Friendly Societies Acts and others that govern them and that they originate from, and they are coupled with their own prudential supervisionary requirements via trustees. They are all, in the case of credit unions, they're all equal partners, equal shareholders within that entity, which is vastly different from the financial sector. They have a cooperative model that's based on equal ownership, that is based on the varying needs of the individuals in that entity and the communities and interests and industries in which they operate. They are inherently conservative, if you look at the history of credit unions, in respect of their investments. They are involved in health schemes, skilling schemes, all sorts of interesting and innovative processes, and they're very entrepreneurial, but they're inherently conservative and they're based on a cooperative model. Their approach to business isn't driven by shareholders, if you will, who take risks. Their basis for business is based on cooperativism and collectivism. And it would be hard to see, and it is still hard to see, why these additional prudential requirements should be visited on them. Because, of course, they have inherently a whole series of additional compliance costs. So I'd be interested to know from the Minister, and if he could answer some questions that would be helpful to us, why it is that the government believes that credit unions, for instance, friendly societies and others, who do indeed take deposits but operate completely differently on a far more conservative basis with a cooperative model and equity in terms of individual members, why they should be lumped in with this. Now, I don't know if the Minister and the Chair is going to take a call. I note some members of the I know the Chair of the Finance and Expenditure Committee is here today, and it would be very helpful if the Minister's not in a position to take a call, if Mr Goldsmith took a call and gave the government rationale for this. Because the cost of regulation, of course, is going to be borne by firms that didn't collapse, those who actually did do the right thing, credit unions and others, who were fiscally conservative, who did manage their funds and their members' funds and investments appropriately. Of course, they are going to be the ones, along with others in the financial sector, who will bear the brunt of these compliance costs. Now, we are all, as I said in the last debate, for financial stability. We are all for ensuring that the best prudential requirements are put in place to protect mum and dad investors or any investors. And you'd have to look, and I'd challenge the government to provide some evidence if I'm wrong, but you'd have to look at the history and performance of credit unions, and in many, many respects, and the management of funds that they have, they outstrip in terms of the conservative nature of their investment portfolio and how they manage funds. Their performance outstrips many, and that's borne out by many of those who it outstrip aren't here anymore because they collapsed. So those credit unions provide a pretty unique form of model and form of investment for their members. They're involved in a vast array of pretty unique activities for people who are in this sector in terms of providing opportunities for their members, and they have a completely different model. It's a cooperative model. It's a very old model, and they operate completely. Mr. Chair, sorry, they operate completely differently. So it would be helpful if somebody on that side could, for the record, put on the record the rationale for lumping in credit unions with every other every other non-bank deposit taker, because I think they do make a valid argument that they can differentiate themselves off from most. Now, if the government still believes it's appropriate that they be part of this regime, then the government needs to stand up in all fairness and articulate in a detailed way why they believe that. And it may be helpful to do so, I think, in terms of the level of understanding. And it may, I doubt it, but it may allay some of the fears that credit unions and others in that area have in respect of this bill. So I'd be grateful if somebody from the other side, there's not a lot of politics, if any, really, in this bill. I was on the Finance and Expenditure Committee for most, if not all, I think, of this piece of legislation going through, and I would acknowledge there was a genuine effort on both sides to make it work. It is appropriate, but these credit unions and friendly societies do have some genuine concerns. They have put in their submissions some appropriate propositions on the table, arguing that they should be differentiated off and dealt with differently, or dealt with under the acts that that prescribe their activity anyway. And I would be grateful if a member on the other side, or Mr Goldsmith, could provide the government's rationale for that. I'm sure that would be helpful for those submitters.
The question is that the Minister's amendment set out on SOP number 394 be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question is that parts 1 to 4, schedules 1 to 3 and classes 1 and 2 as amended stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. I will report this bill with amendment.
The House is resumed.
Mr Speaker, the committee has considered the non-bank deposit takers bill and reports it with amendment. So, Mr Speaker, I move that the report be adopted.
The question is that the report be adopted. Those who are of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. This bill is set down for third reading forthwith. I call the honourable